Go with another ladder championship, and it's the top two seeds. John Walor, having won a squeaker last week, is going to try and defeat Steve Vadney, the #1 seed, in the title match.
Yeah, both bowlers over 700 in the roll-off, and 1 and 2 seeds, and that's the way it's supposed to end up, I guess, and that's what we have. John had a good match last week, held on. He had a 44-pin lead at one time. I don't know if it was that high, but we had quite a big lead going into that final game and was able to hang on against Tom Surratt. This week, 1985 state champion Steve Vadney, so out of the coals and into the fire.
All right, let's get a look at Steve Vadney. He's been with us before. This will be his 5th appearance. He's 2 and 2 in previous appearances, and this is the first time we've seen Steve in about a year.
Yeah, about a year. He's out carrying 128 average right now, and like I said, he's the New Hampshire state champ right now, and against a fellow who's carrying 132 average. So if they hit their averages, it's going to be big scores. So we should have a real high-scoring match.
Well, John Walor, meanwhile, as he mentioned at the end of last week's show, finally got the monkey off his back. He had appeared with us twice before, lost both times. Last week, he survived another furious late charge by Tom Surratt and came up with an 8-pin win.
Yep, so he knows what it's all about. And this week, like we asked him last week, he wanted the big lead, and I think I'd take my chances with leads like that, too. But it should be a good one.
All right, ladder championship match coming up. John Walor Jr. and Steve Vadney. We're going to get it all started and tell you more on Stars and Strikes right after we tell you these messages. Don't go away. The ladder championship match once again. Clarence Davis was our carryover champion from the previous ladder, and he fell in the first week to Tom Surratt, and Tom went on to win 3 in a row as he beat Dennis Shute and Gary Duffett. But then last week, John Walor was able to hold off a strong third-string charge and hang on for a 393 to 385 victory. So John Walor, the #2 seed, and Steve Vadney, the #1 seed, are going to duel it out here. And Steve is ready to start us off on lane 32 in our ladder championship match. $400 to the winner, $200 to the runner-up, and of course the winner, in addition to the $400, gets to come back next week against a brand new field of 5 different bowlers. And Steve Vadney starts the right way.
Yes, right in the 1-3 pocket, no question about it. And that's a nice way to start.
A little full that time, but gets a spare leave out of it.
Got away with it. Leaves a 4-7. Piece of wood way out in front, which is always dangerous, but should push it right straight back. Now, like I said, sometimes it's dangerous. I like to see those pins flush against the pin you're shooting at. Because anything can happen when it's out a foot in front of the target pins.
John Walor. Last week rolled a 154, a 133, and then a 106. And that third string nearly cost him the victory.
Oh, he's got the 210. Got to be on the left side of the 2.
John hasn't missed the head pin by very much, or very many times, since he started last week.
He never was behind either last week. Tying with the second box of the first string on, he had the lead. He was able to hold on.
But Steve Vadney jumps off to the early 8-pin lead here in this championship match. Steve Vadney, as I mentioned at the top of the show, has been with us 4 times before. First time Steve was with us was back on May 6th, 1984, which was shortly after we started here on Stars and Strikes. And Steve lost 367 to 350 to Rich Dion.
Another tough piece of wood out in front. Had to come up a little farther right, turn the pin back towards the 9-pin.
And then the next time Steve was with us, he got a little run going. He put together 2 wins on August 5th of 84. He beat Chico Lacerte 400 to 383, and then the following week he beat Jim Thibodeau 411 to 389. And there's a big strike for Steve. In the third week in that particular sequence, he lost to Bob Kelly 397 to 351.
There you see the replay, and he very easily could have had strike, spare, strike. If it wasn't for the wood. Wow. 5-7 dynamite ball in there, and leaves himself a tough spare leave.
Three tens for John Walor.
John looking for his first mark.
He's up full. He'll shoot at the 6-7.
6-7, he's got to use that piece of wood in front of the 6.
And another 10. Interesting item about Steve Vadney in the ladder previous to this one, the one that was won by Clarence Davis. Steve missed by 2 pins qualifying for that ladder. He wound up with a 642 and finished 7th, just 2 pins behind Dan Borden.
Well, he must have got mad the next roll off. He stopped seating through a remarkable 7-10.
Looking for the strike and leaving the 2-pin.
Oh boy. I thought that was frozen. I thought if he missed it, he was going to miss it to the right, he'd still carry the pin, but obviously it was not frozen to that 2-pin.
A couple of open frames for Steve Vadney.
Bad wood in the second and third frame for Steve, and then missing a single there. He could have a monster of a game going right now. And luckily for John at this point, he's only 15 pins behind. And it's going to be less than that.
Here's a tough spare to pick up for your first mark of the day.
Yeah, the old dreaded diamond. John wins out this time.
Come on,
It's only a 6 fill.
Yeah, and not an easy shot here. Come up high in that piece of wood, but
sliding it right by.
yeah, that was the pin I was worried about, the 9-pin.
And the difference is 9. Through 6 boxes.
Steve has had 2 marks. They've both been strikes. Looking for his first spare. 4-7.
There it is. And big strike on spare for Steve Vadney. His 3rd strike already.
Again, this time the 1-3 pocket. It's off to a great start.
Very unusual ball that time by John Walor. He had some incredibly unique leaves last week.
And here's another one. 2, 4, 5, 6. Oh, almost covered. Wait a minute, it's going back here. Oh, it's on target. I'll tell you, if it rolls back onto the plate, it's gone. This is unique. You talk about unique shots, it's gone. It's unbelievable.
We won't show that in slow-mo. It'll take the rest of the week.
Lady Luck was a big part in this game, and that had to turn just right, grab the momentum. And there's 5 pins that we're going to remember. A little star next to that mark, Doug.
Definitely.
Nice
Up
out.
9 bucks.
Now that piece of wood actually rolled out beyond the deadwood line. So if it had stopped, it'd have to be removed, but you can't touch it until it stops moving, and there's a good example why. Anytime the wood's moving, it's still in play. Two, 4, 7 with the 6 and the 10. Got to be on the 2-pin.
Seven fill on the strike for Steve in the 8th. And a 120 with a box left. Big 9 drop. Maybe all of them. No. Steve has had 2 400 triples on the show. The 2 matches that he won, he rolled a 400 in one and a 411 in the other.
130 plus the ball.
Plus 7. So 137 opener for Steve Vadney. And John Walor now will try and just make up as many pins as he possibly can here in the last 2 boxes. That one got away, but it's coming back. Watch out. And that is not a bad lead at all for where he started. And he takes advantage of it.
Oh, he's going to climb back in a little bit with a big fill here and another mark.
There's your big fill.
Can't get much bigger than that. 4-pin for the mark.
Got it. Well, after a tough start with 4 10 boxes, John's picked up 4 marks in the last 6 boxes. And he will close the lead some.
19 pins down now, minus a ball.
Big one this time. Good finish for John Walor, and he cuts the lead under 10. Steve Vadney with a 137, and John Walor at 128. The second string is upcoming of our ladder championship match, and all the details of how you can enter our home contest, too. Coming right up. Don't go away. Back to that 7th frame and John Walor's mark, Dan.
Okay, and remember, as long as the pin is moving, you can almost see the deadwood line, but that pin now is out of play if it were to stop. As long as that pin is moving, you can't touch it. And this lady luck played a little bit of play here, rolled back, and then there's a lip right there as it goes back onto the pin plate, picked up a little more speed, and down it goes for the spare.
And a reminder, if you'd like to join us by way of the home contest, send your postcards. Remember, 1 per person per week with your name, your address, and a number from 1 to 10. Send them all into contest. Sandy's Bowling Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And the jackpot later on in the show will be up to $30. Right now, John Walor is set to go to lead us off here in the second string. We've had some long delays on spares during the show here, but that probably was the longest of all. Could have almost taken a commercial and come back.
Nice try there, John. John made a nice comeback. He very easily could have been 35, 40 pins behind. Steve had a couple shots with bad pieces of wood out in the front. And then, of course, he picked up, 20, 39 pins the last 2 boxes. That's John did, so deficit is 9.
Missing the head pin.
Yeah, that's sometimes that happens. We go to commercial break, they come back for that second game. Got to be right on top of your game when you start off. Where Steve was when he opened the show, he threw a strike. So let's see what happens here in the second game. And he misses and leaves almost an identical leave as John did, opposite side. 4 horsemen right with a 7-pin.
Wow. Slipping it away to the left. Now he's just going to have to bail out as best as he can. Nice job for a 9. Steve works for Sturm Ruger in Newport. He and his wife Annette, 2 children, Jennifer and Stevie. They live in Claremont.
Nice shot.
Tough shot. A lot tougher than it looked.
John, similar to last week's match, the second game he had trouble when he first started off coming back on that headpin with that first ball. But he did find himself last week. Remains to be seen if the same thing happens this week.
Takes the 9 this time. John works at Exeter Bowling Lanes in Exeter, which is where he originally qualified for the show. And there's the big strike for John.
Nice ball. Gonna have to kid John after the match. I wonder if he works. He carries 132 average. I wonder what he does.
John has quite a good representative crowd of folks here, too, as a matter of fact.
Certainly does. A lot of people came over from Exeter to watch this match.
Steve now opposite that strike in the 4th from John Walor. A little full, and this is going to be a shot here. The 2-4, 6, 9, 10 is makeable, though, because of the angle of that wood. Let's see.
Oh, just missed that. Left the 10-pin standing. Looked like he might have had the angle on that piece of wood, too.
And it's 45 through 4 for Steve Vadney in string number 2. For John Walor, it's 29 and a strike up in the 4th. Remember, Steve had a 9-pin lead carrying into this second string. And we'll be back to finish it right after we do these messages. Stay with us.
That 6-pin to go. Oh, I think I'd go right at the 7-pin. I snapped at both pieces of wood. I didn't get quite far enough down
on it. That temporarily, at least, through the 4th, takes 3 pins off Steve Vadney's lead, which is now 6. Remember, the winner of this match, Ladder Championship, $400, and will return next week to start over again with a brand new field of 5 bowlers. And John Walor may still get this. Let's see. Yes. Another little delayed spare. It's a good thing there's not a time limit on this.
He actually hit the shot. It just took a little while ago. In fact, I think he would have gotten it the first time, but 2 pieces of wood hit each other at the same time, stopped it, and then another piece swung around and finally carried the shot.
Big strike answer from Steve Vadney. He You're right, though, Dan. He did hit that shot very well.
He did.
He should have gone a lot faster.
4 and 10. Wants to be on the 2. He's on the inside. He might carry it too. In between.
John Walor now to work on that spare that he left.
Get on it, John.
Trying to put something together, and it seems as though every time he works on a mark, he comes up with a split.
You see that nice and easy motion that Steve Vadney has, and he carries those strikes. John, I have to put John in the same category as Tommy Surratt. These guys throw so hard. I don't think they give those pins time enough to work for themselves. If they're in the pocket, they're gonna get a lot of strikes, but that wasn't that bad of a ball, and yet he didn't even end up with a legitimate spare leave. And I think sometimes they just they throw so hard. 1, 3, 6, and 10.
No. Two open frames for John Walor. And a nice, easy delivery that you were talking about, Dan. And
yeah, it almost looked like he was going to end up with 2, 4, 6, and 10. And because he doesn't throw it that hard, a lot of the pins stick around, and they knock a few of their friends down.
And result in spare leaves like that.
Right.
And another strike.
Those green and yellow balls of his, when they get in the pocket, it looks like the thing is as big as a pumpkin sometimes going in there when those strikes go.
That's 5 strikes already for Steve Vadney. Nice looking shot for John Walor, and the 10 pin is still there.
Well, John's got to have a double mark here. Pins down, perfect strike.
Another split.
Yeah, he's just not carrying that extra pin right now. You go for the 6 and a 10, hope to clip the wood. Whew, almost cut it over.
And a 9 and a 114. So John will total 242 after 2. And now he can just watch, see the damage that Steve Vadney will do in these last 2. He's working on a strike, remember, in the 8th.
Tough decision there. Almost the wood next to the 5 pin looks good. Yeah, that 6 of one, half dozen of another. That's a tough choice there, but I think I would have went toward the 5 pin.
Steve's going to have a lead in the 30s if he gets a mark here in the 10th box.
Head pin for the spare. No.
And on the other side, so a 130. Totals after 2. Carol Downey puts him up on the big board. Steve Vadney with a 130 and a 267. John Walor looking for his 2nd win in a row, a 114 and a 242. The difference is 25, and we'll come back for the 3rd and final string of this ladder championship right after this. 25-pin lead coming into the third and final string of this ladder championship. Right through the middle.
1, 5, and 9. Spread eagle plus the 8-pin.
Reminder, if you'd like to join us here as we tape Candlepin Stars and Strikes at Sandy's in Wyndham, love to have you join us. And our next taping is scheduled for 3 weeks from today, November 24th, Sunday, November 24th. We start at around 10 o'clock in the morning and go all day till about 5:30 or so. Love to have you join us. Sandy's located right on Route 28 in Wyndham. Very easy to find from just about anywhere. And again, it's 3 weeks from today, the 24th of November. Mark for Steve Vadney in the second, and of course every one of those will make it that much tougher for this man.
25 pins. It's 3 or 4 more marks more than your opponent. That ball's not breaking at all for him. John likes to have the ball break from right to left, but he's got so much speed right now. Well, that one broke a little bit for him.
Plus, isn't it true also, Dan, that the hard throwers, when things are going bad, tend to maybe throw even a little bit harder sometimes?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. They just feel that they can get back into the match that way. And hey, John's had some success. You know, Tommy Osta has to be one of the hardest throwers there is, too. And they get a lot of accuracy, too. But a lot of times when they see him go bad, it seems like they get the 2-in-1 splits a lot more than those people who throw a nice, easy ball.
Probably be better off if the head pin stays, and it looks like it will stay. The question is that wood going to move out of the way or become dead wood?
Or is it going to roll back and knock a few more down for another spare? Gone through that. This is only an hour show, though.
Well, John's giving it a look. It's not going to come back, and Carol Downey will take care of it. So John will be shooting at the 179.
Oh, nice try. The 7.
That's a 9 box as the ball clipped the piece of deadwood in the gutter. So it's a 9 and a 17 pair for John Walor to start. Not what he wanted.
No, and it's time for Steve to put the pressure really on John here with a good fill, but, well, he got away with it. Looked like he was going for the half Worcester, ends up leaving, instead of knocking out 2, he's leaving 2 standing for a spare, 1 and the 9.
And there's another spare. Steve was throwing mostly strikes at the beginning, but now he's mixing in a lot of spares, too. It's going to be tough to beat. Seven this time is the fill.
4, 7, 8. And more important, it'd be 1 less box John has to get back into the match. Yes.
Perfectly shot there, avoiding the wood and taking out the triangle. John Walor looking to get something started. And it just seems that every time he's 1 pin away from getting a spare leave to happen.
That time it looked like he was going to leave the 10-pin standing with these 2, but finally got the break and they went down. Whoa.
Big break there for John. And
that's 7-pin to go, but it's not going to.
Another split.
3, 6, 7. Trying to split the 3 and the 6. He's got some help in the back, too. Nice shot.
Well, that keeps him in it at least. We'll pause here as soon as we get another look at this spare by John Walor.
Thought he almost went by the 3-pin. Just glazed it enough, but he got the wood in the back to go over and get the 7-pin. Nice shot.
34 and a spare up for John Walor. 44 with a spare up in the fourth for Steve Vadney. Steve with a 35-pin lead. We'll see if he can hang on to it. Ladder Championship continues next. On a spare in the fourth. 6.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to come up high in this wood. He's going to worry about the 7 and the 10. He went way low. You know, we talk about the hard throwers, too. I think the house dictates of what kind of ball you'll throw sometimes, too. Here, it's a high-scoring house. You want to let those pins work as long as they can for you, because there's little resistance down there. Keep the place nice and clean, pin decks nice and shiny, so as long as you can keep pins around, swinging around, coming off the sidewalls, you're going to score.
Punch out this time for Steve.
But a punch is a punch.
Right.
No matter what house you're in. Nice try.
Steve using the Dan Murphy method on that shot, going for the 2 pins instead of the 3.
Yes, I always do that. Well, there's a good indication of why I do. He split the 3 and the 6, and you got the 7 pin, so if he doesn't cut it over enough to carry the 2, you got a chance of hitting the 7 and coming back. And that time he did clear out the 7 pin, left the 4 and the 2.
John Walor must continue to mark, and that's just a 5 fill.
Come on, come on.
This is an opportunity for him with 2 open frames, and there's one.
Come on now. Another big one.
Splits the 1-2, just like the book says, and carries the 9. Now he wants to bury one in the pocket. It's off to the right again.
Wow.
He's thrown 2 or 3 balls. First ball's to the right. Just make that adjustment. There, he did that time.
Another spare. Not the fills he wanted. 5 and 2 on those 2 spares, but he'll take it.
This is very similar to last week with Tom Surratt. He had some bad fills, but he actually come back and made the shot afterwards. Makes that adjustment in the middle of the frame, which is very, very hard to do.
Steve Vadney trying to put it out of reach.
No adjustment needed here. Just hit the 7. That's all he's got to do. Well, maybe not. Oh, boy.
And it goes off.
Gonna roll off.
About to say that the odds are in that case that usually the wood will stop exactly in the spot where you don't want it.
Right in front of it. Big fill here. Yes.
And a spare leave.
And just Steve keeps rolling along. He's got a tough shot here. He's got to come up high in the wood. Right-hand tip of the wood. Or just above the red line. Turn it, push it straight back. Still going to have trouble with that 7 pin. Oh, good shot. Good shot. Well, John knows what he has to do. It's 25 pins down going to this string. He's another 7 pins behind here, so it's 32. He's offered us opposite a spare, 8 spare. Got to tie them together. Overcorrected, went left. 1, 3, 6, and 10. 4 horsemen. Can't afford to miss any now.
2 left.
That's the one he wanted. Well, his only hope here is to throw a strike. Hope Steve butchers the fill on his spare and he comes back with another strike. Deficit is 34 pins. Now continues to miss the head pin. 9-10.
May go with the wood, but there's quite a distance between the wood and the pins.
Nice shot. Well, Well, John's only hope now is to have Steve throw a bad fill, bad box, and not mark the 10th, and have him throw a couple or a double strike, but no. And this looks like a cinch if he keeps the ball in the lane. The wood should carry both pins.
There it is for Steve Vadney.
And that looks like a winner.
Headed for a 400 series. And that puts him over 400.
2, 4, and 6. One more pin for 140 game and 407.
And that is it. A 9, a 140, and a 407 for Steve Vadney. And John Walor would need a 165, which is mathematically possible, but he's got to have all strikes. And that'll do it. So Steve Vadney is our ladder champion, $400 richer. And we'll be coming back next week to try and defend the title against a series of 5 brand new bowlers from a new roll-off. Steve Vadney moves to 3-2 here on Stars and Strikes. His overall record. John Walor drops to 1-3. But John was real happy to get that first win last week. I know that. So despite the fact that he wasn't able to make it 2 in a row here, he'll make $200, and that's more than he made last time. So it'll be a 10 and a 121 for John Walor. And congratulations for Steve Vadney from John. The totals go up. Steve Vadney with a 140 and a 407 triple. John Walor hits a 121 third string for a 363. We'll be back to wrap it all up here at Sandy's after these words. Another ladder championship is history here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, and Steve Vadney, who's been bowling very, very well, as you mentioned, state champion in the most recent tournament, continues that trend.
Yeah, you know, I can't remember the fellow he beat.
I can't either.
I can remember now. Yeah, Steve bowled real well, and he bowled real well today. Just kept, you know, rolling along, just nice and easy motion, and it was nice enough to overcome John Walor.
And as far as you're concerned, I don't think you have anything to worry about as far as this year goes. It's been a pretty good year for you, too.
No, if I can have the year after losing to Steve the way I've had, I'll do that all the time.
All right, let's meet both bowlers. First of all, our one-time champion couldn't make it 2 in a row, but a great effort in coming back for the second time on the show, third time, actually, John Walor Jr. John, come on up. We have a check for you for $200 that I know you'll be happy to receive, and as happy as you were with the first win, I know you would have liked another one, but still tough guy to go against. He was bowling well.
Well, when you're not hitting the head pin, I had struggling hitting the head pin, you're not going to beat a guy like Steve.
And then it seemed when you were hitting the head pin, you were getting terrible leaves all day.
That's the way it goes. You can't help that. Try to hit the head pin, but when Steve got up a little bit, I was pressing even more. Couldn't get on that head pin. That was a big problem.
And I'd like to completely change the subject for a second here. Planning on continuing your basketball career? It was something that we wanted to talk about during one of the shows. We didn't get a chance after that great season you had last year at Hesser.
No, I'm not going to be playing anymore. I'm going to hang up the sneakers for a while. I'm getting a little too old for that. Hopefully I'll be coaching. I'd like to get a coaching job somewhere. If anybody would like to take me in, I'll be happy to.
You can consider that the first pitch right there, and good luck with it. We wish you all success, and we hope to see you again on the show.
Thank you. You will.
All right. Thanks very much, John Walor. All right, and that leaves us with a new champion, a ladder champion as well. He'll be coming back next week, Steve Vadney. And Steve, if you could just roll one ball for us, and we will get on with our contest here, which is up to $30 this week, looking for a match. And it'll be a 9 and we'll see if we can get a match. Steve, come on over. We're going to chat in just a second here. And by the way, for those of you who want to write down the address again and join us in the contest, we'll be showing you that address. In fact, there it is right now. It is Sandy's Bowling Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And be sure and send postcards only, one per week, per person. And be sure and send your name, your address, and your number from 1 to 10. And, for example, the number we're looking for right now is 9 to match what Steve threw. Unfortunately, it is not a match for Kay McGonigal of Waltham, Mass. So Kay will be receiving a consolation prize, the TV50 NHCBA desk pen, for sending in the postcard. That means it'll be up to $40 next week. And Steve Vadney, you're now over 500 here on Stars and Strikes in the ladder championship.
Yeah, finally made it all the way. It's been a tough time getting here.
A lot of strikes early in the match for you, and then you really started to get some spare leaves and pick them up later in the match.
At first, I thought that's all I could get was the strikes. I was missing the spares, and oh my God, you know, just got to come around here pretty quick.
Dan and I talked quite a bit during the show about the contrast in styles between yourself and John. You've throwing the ball relatively easy. Is that the way you've pretty much always thrown?
Yes, pretty much.
I guess that's maybe the recommended way for some, but then again, there are an awful lot of guys, as Dan pointed out earlier, who throw very hard and score well too.
Right, right. Well, I think accuracy is the main thing. Not so much speed. Speed is great, but it's hard to control, I think, and you got to be timing and everything right with it.
All right, well, Steve, as you know, not only do we have a check for $400 for you, which I'm sure you'll be able to use, but also a winner's trophy, winner's version of the plaque from the N&R Trophy Company of Winchendon. But also, in addition to all that, you'll be coming back next week. We don't know who your first opponent is going to be, but we're going to try and make it 2 in a row.
I hope so.
All right, Steve Vadney, we'll be seeing you next week.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Steve Vadney, congratulations. Our new ladder champion, and with an outstanding triple, a 407, knocking off John Walor with a 363. And next week, again, Steve Vadney comes back to face some new challengers.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I compliment John and his comments. He's going to go a long ways because there were no excuses. He realized he wasn't hitting the head pin, and he's too old to play basketball. I don't know, somebody tell me he's too old to bowl. He's going to be a good champion. And Steve, of course, Steve has done it all, and he'll be back next week, and whoever goes up against him is going to have a tough time.
And we hope you will be back next week, too, as we join you once again for Candlepin Stars and Strikes every Sunday at 12 noon right here on TV50. For Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports